Hey there, Rednecks, Preppies, Redneck Preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great? Good. Just a friendly reminder that the Redneck Preppy can also be found on Rumble and Odyssey. Links are in the description below. I had a question from a viewer recently that I thought might make for an informative video. In an email, he asked whether it was safe to keep matches in a survival kit stored in a vehicle, particularly during very hot weather. He'd heard conflicting information, so he figured, why not ask the redneck? Now, given that I've counseled that it's a good idea to have some survival gear in your vehicle, particularly if you're the kind to venture off into places less traveled, I found it an interesting question. And it's also something that I've actually thought about in the past. In my vehicle's survival kit, I don't keep matches. Rather, I just have a ferrocerium rod and striker. Maybe I was also nervous about the idea of keeping matches in my Jeep. Am I being too cautious by not keeping them? Well, let's try and answer that question today. Matches, by design, and here's a Captain Obvious moment, ignite from friction and heat. Now, some types only need a small increase in temperature or a bit of pressure to spark. And when stored in a car, especially in summer, those conditions could potentially be met. A parked car during hot weather could hit interior temperatures as high as 75 degrees Celsius or 170 degrees Fahrenheit in just 30 minutes. And even in winter, matches stored loosely in glove boxes, seat compartments, or under seats could be damaged, degrade chemically, or create unintended ignition from friction with other objects like pens or coins or even other tools. So let's take a closer look at the different types of matches and see how they behave under heat, pressure, or long-term storage, especially in vehicles. All right, admittedly, you will not find strike anywhere matches around as much these days. If you're unfamiliar with them, these matches can be ignited by striking on any rough surface, a brick, zipper, dashboard, well, maybe even the side of your head. And their risk level is very high. Strike anywhere matches are extremely sensitive. They contain white phosphorus and other reactive chemicals that make them especially dangerous if jostled, pressed, or stored loosely in a moving vehicle. A bump in the road could theoretically provide enough friction to ignite them. That, of course, brings us to safety matches, and these are the more common type these days, requiring a special strip, typically found on the matchbox, to ignite, and their risk level is considered moderate. Now, while less sensitive than strike anywhere matches, safety matches still contain chemicals that become unstable over time with exposure to humidity or high heat. If the box degrades or becomes loose inside the vehicle, matches can ignite from accidental friction or become unreliable in emergencies. Now, certainly useful in a survival situation are waterproof matches. They're often used by campers and hikers as waterproof matches are coated to resist moisture and can even be struck after getting wet. Experts consider their risk level to be moderate to high. These matches are designed for durability, but that same durability comes with a catch. They do tend to be more volatile. In a hot car, the wax or coating can melt or warp, sticking matches together or making them more susceptible to ignition when pulled apart. Now, when you absolutely need to light your cigarette in a storm, you use stormproof matches. Now, these matches are built to light in extreme conditions: wind, rain, snow. They'll even burn underwater for a couple of seconds. And the risk level for these depends. It's high if they're improperly stored, but low if they're sealed properly. Now, these matches burn with an intense self-sustaining flame. Dropping one on car upholstery or carpet could result in a fire that spreads pretty fast. However, when stored in a secure, airtight case built specifically for vehicle or outdoor use, the risk drops significantly for stormproof matches. Finally, we have matchbooks or paper matches. I'm so old, I remember when restaurants and bars handed these out. Man, those were the days. These matchbooks are made of paperboard and are the least durable. But their risk level is very high. Matchbooks degrade quickly in heat and moisture. The flint strip, or striking strip if you prefer, is often exposed, and these soft match heads can rub against each other or the cover, increasing the chance of accidental ignition. These should be never stored in a car. So what are your options then? Like I said, in most cases, matches in your vehicle aren't a great combination. What else is there? As I mentioned earlier, I keep a ferro rod in my Jeep survival kit. It isn't as convenient as matches, but it also won't ignite when I don't want it to. Lighters are an option, but with a big proviso. Bic-style lighters can still explode in a hot vehicle, though most of the time that explosion is merely the fluid inside of the case expanding to the point where it just pops the top of the lighter off. The case itself could actually warp in extreme heat as well. Now that said, there are some cases of actual fires being caused by Bic lighters being kept in a hot vehicle. So keep that in mind. A butane lighter is another option, though again with the same issues as the Bic. Zippo style lighters are probably the best of the lighter options, but they do tend to dry out faster in heat, even though they have no pressurized seams, just the lid and the body. So there's less risk of a heat-related failure. Zippos use a liquid fuel that does evaporate over time, so you'll need to check and refill it regularly. Good news is that they aren't sensitive to heat or pressure changes. Now, similar to the ferro rod is the spark wheel. They work a lot like a cigarette lighter, except without the fuel. Spin the wheel, and it throws off sparks. That's great for lighting dry tinder, and obviously there is no risk of ignition in the heat. If you insist on matches, stormproof matches in a sealed, heat-resistant container stored out of sunlight is probably your best choice. I don't recommend it, but you do you. Now, just as an aside, some folks also toss in fire-starting cubes or gel packs. Now, they won't ignite unless you light them, and they're a good backup if you do go the non-match route. So there's your answer. Matches in general are not a good idea for storage in your vehicle thanks to heat and potential friction ignition. At any rate, I hope you found today's video at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. As always, I hope all of your outdoor adventures are fun and safe. Take care, and bye-bye.